वेलकम टू ऑनलाइन लर्निंग मीडिया। ऑनलाइन लर्निंग मीडिया आप सभी का स्वागत करता है।
Have you ever wondered who guides the routine of the school? Are there any broad guidelines that a school should function in certain way, or how to organize various activities in the school? Yes, there is a framework which is called National Curriculum Framework, which guides the activities organized in our schools. This framework helps to allocate resources and time for various activities and subjects. This framework also guides us to integrate constitutional values, different kinds of sensitivity towards environment, society, scientific temper, etc. This kind of common core the school integrates in all its activities for the holistic development of the students. Another question you may have in your mind is, what guides the National Curriculum Framework? Is there a document to guide the same? To this question, my answer is also yes. There are policy documents called National Policy on Education. We have had two national education policies, one in 1968 and then in 1986. Although these two policies have guided the whole education system in the country at various levels, of course, it has specific recommendations for the school education. Thus, National Policy on Education guides the National Curriculum Framework, which in turn guides the school for its curriculum. New Education Policy 2020 has been released by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. This policy also emphasizes the need for a new national curriculum framework for school education. Till now, we have 4 national curriculum frameworks in place. First one had been introduced by the NCERT in 1975, then in 1988, then in 2000, and finally in 2005. And of course, as a follow-up of the National Curriculum Framework, we developed syllabus, textbooks, and other material. Now the question arises, why these 4 curriculum frameworks? With the constant changes in the society on psychological, societal, economical spheres, the demand for changes in school education arises. Therefore, we have to introduce and update our frameworks continuously. You can see now with the current pandemic, the school requires lots of changes during and after this situation. This has an implication in the assessment process, in the pedagogical process, of course, in the whole activities of the school. We have to maintain now social distancing. We have to keep our school sanitized all the time. When schools require these kinds of changes, of course, these kind of changes guide national curriculum frameworks and policies to recommend in the way so that schools can implement these kinds of things. Now, when we are in school and classes and teaching various subjects, there is another issue, the question of how different themes and topics are decided for various classes. For this, we have another guiding document, as I already mentioned, syllabus. So after the National Curriculum Framework, we do develop the syllabus, because the syllabus not only provides us with themes and topics, but also guides us on pedagogies, how to transact these topics. Drawing insights from the National Curriculum Framework, it also guides us on the time duration which we have to allot to the various themes and topics to be taught in the classrooms. Once these themes and topics are decided for the classroom, for the subject areas, then we require content. Now, for example, if you are taking a topic food and nutrition in a group of students, you will first reflect upon the content related to food, as different states have different food habits and food cultures. So now, for transacting this food topic in the classroom, we need content, and that too context-based content. So this content is being provided by our textbooks. Thus, we have textbooks for all the classes and for all the subject areas. It is thus necessary for the textbooks to be interactive and to provide lots of space for students' experiences so that they can get engaged in the classroom. When we develop these textbooks, of course, sometimes it happens that there are new perspectives in textbooks that teacher has to transact these textbooks in a different ways, moving from the traditional pattern. For that, teachers often require support, and this support is being provided by various material which we develop for teachers, whether it is teacher training material, modules, guidelines. For example, suppose there is a change in assessment, examination. So, of course, for guiding teachers on assessment and examination, also we need teacher support material. So, teacher support material really fulfills lots of purposes. For example, in this pandemic situation, we may not be having new textbooks very soon or new syllabus very soon, but we may have all the time teacher support material taking into consideration new perspective and new requirement, so that teacher can take guidance from the material and transact their textbooks and do this teaching learning process in that way. When we say the school is functioning towards the holistic development of the students, we tend to see the changes in our students. Of course, we expect that children have behavioral changes. These behavioral changes are often termed as learning outcomes. These learning outcomes actually are competencies which include a cluster of related abilities, commitment, knowledge and skills that enables students to act effectively in a situation. Further, competencies indicate sufficiency of knowledge and skills that enable someone to act in a wide variety of situations. Of course, schools prepare our students to address a situation may be unfamiliar to the student, and the addressal of situation which are unfamiliar to a student is actually competency. Actually, the school education system makes students competent to address different kinds of situation for interpersonal and intrapersonal relationship. So those kinds of competencies come under this learning outcome. An example of learning outcome I can give you here. Maybe I have referred food earlier also. So now, when teacher has already transacted the chapter or the lesson in the classroom, or maybe might have organized so many activities. So after these activities which students have gone through, now the student can describe the need of food for different people, for people of different age groups, animals, birds, etc. So when teacher has transacted some lesson, some topics, some themes in the classroom, students learn that, and there may be behavioral changes in the student, and that behavioral changes will be termed as learning outcomes. And we can have this kind of statement like student describe food for different age groups, or student can describe different ingredients of the food, or student can describe his or her likings of different kinds of food. So maybe there may be n number of learning outcomes, and learning outcomes at NCERT we don't take as product. these learning outcomes actually are the processes, because we cannot have a final learning outcomes anytime, anywhere. So hence, now one can reiterate the linkages among national policy on education, national curriculum frameworks, curriculum, syllabus, textbook, teacher support material and learning outcomes, all of which are intertwined with each other. Coming to one important concept of hidden curriculum. Of course, we have intentions in our national policy on education, national curriculum framework, that children should be aware of these constitutional values, children should be having this gender sensitivity, children should be having environmental protection. But somehow, when we don't practice these kinds of things in schools, suppose we are making our children sitting separately, suppose we are making children, making girls and boys sitting separately in a classroom. Though national policy on education curriculum frameworks are promoting gender sensitivity, but even though teacher is instructing students to sit separately in different rows, these kinds of things give hidden message to the students, and then this emerges as hidden curriculum, because then this discrimination enter in the society from the school. So we have to be very careful while transacting curriculum, that our stereotypes should not be transacted in the form of hidden curriculum in our classes, in our school, or it should not come in the behavior of our student if we want to make a school inclusive and a society inclusive.
वीडियो देखने के लिए आप सभी का धन्यवाद। अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद आई हो तो वीडियो को लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब जरूर करिएगा।